ওকে। আমরা তো এখানে ফেসে রয়েছি কর্ণাটকে।
সবাই সবার জায়গায় ফেসে আছে।
হ্যাঁ রে, প্রদীপ তো প্রদীপ তো তোমাদের কি খবর ওখানে? সরি
ঠিক মানে as such আর কি মানে লকডাউন টাফ থিং ইজ নাও as you are in lockdown condition, that's all.
না, অনেকেরই খবর পাচ্ছি এই চলে যাচ্ছে চলে যাচ্ছে।
It is extended up to 30th June now. Every 15 days it is being extended.
No, you have started lockdown quite late. That is why it is extended in June.
Yes sir, yes sir.
Lockdown
Actually
is
that
only
election
way,
was
na,
the
Prafulla?
election was the main issue.
Anyway, no, means we didn't have any control over election, that is the main thing.
Yeah.
Let us start the session. Otherwise,
Okay.
we'll just
Yes, sir.
filling on the thing.
So,
Thank you, everybody. Please, and
good
please turn
evening.
off your mics.
Good evening, everybody. I, as a secretary of Gondwana Geological Society, invite all the members to the lecture being given by Dr. P.K. Jain, Chief Mineral Economist of IBM today. And it's a great thing that Dr. Jain is with us. He is a vice president of our Gondwana Geological Society also. And he is we can say pioneer worker and doyen in the mineral economics and economic division of the IBM, with vast experience in development of minerals and mineralization and mineral industry in India. His knowledge will be certainly enlighten us regarding the latest development, particularly after we can say the pandemic, post-pandemic, and new rules and regulations of MMRD Acts, etc. So before we start, I will request Dr. Samaya Humne to introduce and give in brief the biodata of Dr. P.K. Jain. Madam Humne, please. Hello.
Hello, Pratik. Mr. Pratik Godbole was expected to.
Pratik Godbole is absent today. He is means he is not feeling well. So Madam was there just now and verified.
Okay. I'll just call her. She has, I think, left the meeting. I'll just call her.
Sir, I'm here. By mistake, I have left because of internet connectivity. Just now I have joined.
Okay. So you can start the introduction of our guest speaker today.
Okay, sir. A very good evening to all the members of Gondwana Geological Society. And I'd like to welcome Dr. P.K. Jain sir for his talk. And before proceeding for the formal talk by him, let me introduce Dr. P.K. Jain sir. Dr. P.K. Jain is presently working as Chief Mineral Economist in Indian Bureau of Mines, Government of India, Nagpur. He has obtained his Masters of Technology, that is an MTech degree in Applied Geology with University Gold Medal from Dr. Hari Singh God Sagar University, Sagar. He acquired post-graduation in LLM, degrees in law from RTM Nagpur University and Master of Computer Application and also Masters of Business Management, as well as Masters MA in Economics from Indira Gandhi Open University, New Delhi. He was awarded PhD in Geology and as well as PhD in Law by RTM Nagpur University. He is recipient of Rajiv Gandhi National Award by Department of Official Language, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India for original book writing in Hindi on Gyan Vigyan for the year 2008-2009 for book Khanij Sampada or Satat Vikas. He has authored 5 books on various disciplines like mineral policy and legislation, compute, law, and published 54 research/technical papers and presented in person few of them on various aspects aspects of mineral policy, legislation, trade, mineral royalty, taxation, mining exploration, geology, environment, mineral resources, and UNFC system in different national and international journals, proceeding of seminars and conferences. He has more than 36 years of experience in geology and mining discipline and worked for a detailed exploration of bauxite, gold, phosphorite, and coal in MECL from 1983 to 1999 prior to joining IBM since 1999. He was associated with number of high-level committee of Government of India, Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Steel, Niti Aayog, like DANG Committee, HODA Committee, UNFC Committee for National Mineral Policy, revision of rate of royalty and dead rent, amendment in MMDR Act and rules made thereunder, export duty on iron ore, average sale price, threshold value of minerals, CGPB, etc. He is life member of number of associations like Indian Science Congress, Geological Society of India, Gondwana Geological Society, Engineers Association of India, Indian Geological Congress, Society of Economic Geology, etc. So he has lot of achievements to his credit. With this formal introduction, I would like to invite Jain sir to please deliver the talk.
So, with so many credentials to Dr. Jain, we will be certainly enlightened with his present latest knowledge regarding the mineral industry in India. I request Dr. P.K. Jain to start the presentation. Please.
Thank you, Secretary Parulkar sir, Unde Madam, other President of the Gondwana Geological Society, and other member of the Gondwana Geological Society, and whoever is present online. I think I can see, including me, the 80 person is already on board. So I sometimes feel like that giving a lecture online may be easier than giving a physical form of the lecture. But today I feel like it is a more challenging because all stalwarts are there on the board, and the topic I have chosen, that is Indian mining industry and what is the present scenario. So as Savarkar sir has little bit given it thoughts on it, that what was happening during the pandemic, and subsequently what are the development has been taken place in the recently, and what is the present scenario, how we are moving around. So with this background, I think I may like to share my screen and little bit of the presentation, whatever I have made it, I will go through. Just I will share my screen. So, sir, are you able to see my screen? Omni madam?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is visible.
I will make a slide show. Just. So now it is a full screen slide show.
Yeah, visible.
Okay, thank you. So that is a topic we have chosen, the development of the Indian mineral industry present scenario. As we know, this is maybe a revision only, that each mineral is having their unique way of deposition, then geology and all. So it is having an intrinsic economic interest, and resources availability prospect of eventual economic extraction is very essential. Though mineral is available, but unless it has not been economically extracted, means it is not economically viable. Sometimes we are having our own limitations, and each mineral is having their own location, grade, quality, geological characteristics, estimation, and subsequently we see to it that the interpreted form of the specific geological evidence as the mineral evidence rule has been notified. So within that, whether they are fulfilling the criteria for subsequent grant of the concession is there or not. And as we know that each mineral is having their own speciality also, that they are the non-renewable, finite quality, depth dimension also. As I will say that for the iron ore, we are telling up to 150 meters of the depth only, that's the estimation has been made. So what are the depth criteria and whether the mining facility is available to extract that mineral or not. Quantity and quality, sometimes it may be uncertainty after the particular confidence level. usability of the mineral also, because if we say that earlier we were allowing to export the beach sand, but recently the government of India has now restricted. They are telling that with the zero threshold value, also that beach sand can be treated as an atomic mineral. So usability also sometimes we may be ignored, and or the subsequent R&D facility or the extraction of the mineral facility may not be available presently, but there may be some abundance of the rare element or the critical elements may be available in the host rock or the mineral. Geological complexity, distribution peculiarity, perpetuality, foundation of the economy, and the high investment risk is there to convert the resources into the extractable quantity. Coming to that, the role of the mineral resources to the development, as we know that the mineral is playing very key role for n number of the industries, which are sometimes the industry may be dedicated for the backbone of the mineral, like the steel industry for the iron ore, aluminum industry for the bauxite, like then cement industry for the limestone, so forth and so on. And as we know that the living standard is measured by the per capita consumption of the mineral. If I give an example for the iron ore, we can say that the per capita consumption of the India in iron ore is about 61 kg in urban India. If I specifically for the rural India, it is hardly 10 kg per person. While the global standard of this consumption, if we say the developed world, it is a 235 kg per person. So that is a yardstick to measure the whether we are developing or developed country, or we are making a progressive growth on that or not. The industrial development of a country need to be uninterrupted supply of the raw material. So what are the recent changes is going on in the mineral or mining industries? Sometimes that the impression has been given that there should not be interruption for supply of the raw material. That's why we are making a change, like allowing the captive mine also to sell in the domestic market. We are making a lot of relaxation for the industries to get the supply of the material. Even during this COVID period also, this I think you may be aware of it, that the mining and mineral industry has been declared as an essential commodities. So government of India and few state government also issued the directives that the mining activity has to be continued, because that was subsequently required to allow to make a energy also. If coal could have been stopped, we could not have able to get the electricity. Similarly, the production of the steel and other. So during this COVID period also, the mining was going to be trying to make it as smooth as previously. Mineral resources provide the strength and end user sustainability supply to keep the wheel of the industry rolling. As we know, it is a chain of the activity. Back end is the mineral and front end is the end number of the industries. And the post-independence demand serves for the mineral raw material. As we compare it, what was the production of the iron ore, the resources of the iron ore just in 1950 and now presently. So that is a huge changes has been made it in terms of the exploration, in terms of the estimation, and subsequently in terms of the production, and vice versa the available production of the value-added product also. Increase the demand lead to the intensive search of the mineral deposit in known area as well as in the virgin area. And to become an imperative, it was necessary to have a resource availability in the country. Until we are not having a resource, subsequent whatever we are discussing, sometime it is having a challenges. And I am going to prove it with the statistics. These are the some little bit about the consumption of the mineral in the specific industries. As we know that the iron ore, 99% of the iron ore is used for the sponge iron in the steel industry. Hardly 1% is used for the cement, electrode, foundry, and paint industries. Similarly, the limestone, 92% of the limestone is used for the cement, and rest is the iron, chemical, others like sugar, glass, and alloy industries. As we know that the bauxite, about 91% for the alumina, about 7% for the cement, and other industries rest, that is a calcination, refractory, abrasive. But though there is a rest, but they too are very important in terms of the running the industry in the front end and in terms of the availability of the resources in the country. Then the manganese ore, that is about 93% in the ferroalloys, little bit about the purely for the steel making, and others is for the other alloys, chemical, zinc, cement, and others. As we know that the fertilizer is 100% used for the rock phosphate and apatite consumed. And chromite is again as an alloy for the iron steel alloy and iron and other uses. Coming to that very important aspect of this measuring the kindly mute your mics, disturbing others, please. That's iron and that's growth of the mining sector. The major yardstick is the GDP contribution, because we always read in the media that the contribution of the GDP of the mining sector is hardly less than 2%, and we are having a vision to make it in a 2-digit. So what are the intricacies there? How this GDP can increase? A little bit that I am going to share with you, that what the estimation of the GDP means: consumption, investment, government spending, plus export minus imports. So this is what is the value is coming, that is we are calculating in terms of the GDP. And as we know that the mining sector is one of the core sector of the economy, and it's provide the basic raw material for the many important industries. So little bit this, I want to make a flow diagram of this GDP. If we want to enhance our GDP, we want to have what are the latest technology available, innovation is required, because whether we want to beneficiate the mineral, whether we want to make a better value utilization of the mineral, whether we want to make a substitute of that, for all these purpose, latest technology is required. Resources augmentation is also important, which subsequently I am going to support the statement. Speedy mineral concession is one of the criteria, because if individual is applying for the concession and it is taking time, which is sometime may not be able to accommodate that industries or the company, then he may be sometime walk down and he may be not interested to convert the resources into the production unit of the mining unit. Infrastructure and the human resources development, increasing mineral production, and import substitute also, because this also how much we are importing and what we are exporting and what are the production of the mineral. This also I am going to give you some figures. Again, that's as I told that the GDP is very important. So this is the one back end thoughts I have given. If we increase the growth rate of we want to increase the 1% growth rate of the mining industry, then average growth rate of the all commodities should be 1.2 to 1.4%. So for that, that specifically the mining sector will have a calculation of the 1%, and there will be a incremental growth of the GDP will be 0.3%. So that way, that ratio between the GDP, mining and quarrying, and the total growth rate of the country, as we said, we generally try to estimate 6% or the 7% of the growth rate for all the commodities. So in that way, if the 6 or 7%, so percentage of that may go to the mining and quarrying, and in decimal it may go for the GDP. And we try to analyze how this GDP, particularly leaving the fuel sector, which is directly dedicated by the different ministry. 68% contribution of the GDP goes by the fuel beans, that is a coal, lignite, and oil sector. And rest of the GDP which comes left out with the, again, I try to differentiate between the major mineral and the minor mineral, because the minor mineral 100% domain with the state government. So that is also gone 18%. So only 14% has been left out with us, where we can have a little bit of the improvement of the GDP. Again, in this 14%, about the 8% contribution of the iron ore, about 2.2% contribution of the limestone, and lead and zinc and rest, that is a 1.4%. So if I say in a very blunt language, if I want to enhance the GDP of a country by taking the major mineral into consideration, immediately my attention should go to the iron ore first. If we can able to improve the production of the iron ore or value addition in the iron ore, this may have an impact on increasing the GDP of the nation. Apart of the other domain like fuel and mineral, which may not be in the domain of the, you can say the IBM or of the central government, particularly the Ministry of the Mine. Then again, I try to enhance, if I want to really make a GDP growth, that is a value addition of the mineral is required. This example I have given for the huge resources of the, you can say the low grade iron ore is available. Earlier it was at 240 million, about 150 million, then it gradually reduced, and I think less, about 100 million ton of the iron ore low grade, which we can say which is not used for the making the steel. That is, you can say less than 60% of the Fe content. So these available of these dumps has to be converted to the pellets and subsequently to be utilized for the whether the direct reduction method or by the blast furnace method. Then technology and energy for the critical minerals, because nowadays that is a talk of the town to get the critical mineral. The way we are going for the advancement of the technology, replacing the lead battery with the lithium battery, or we are thinking to the electronic vehicle. So for that, really we require the critical minerals, or sometimes the mineral, even the limestone also has been declared as a critical mineral, depending upon the futuristic demand of the mineral. So emphasis has to co-produce or byproduct metals from the base metals. Research and development for the production of the high purity material for advanced technology and the application. Substitute for the import by developing the resources. Because when I will tell the figures how much we are importing, that will be very important to safeguard our forensic reserve. Develop cheap transportation means for the low value, high volume commodity as a bauxite, iron ore, because though we are having a huge resources as well as the production, but sometimes the logistic cost is making a major challenge, because that's why sometimes we are even trying to import the iron ore also, though that is a huge resources and production of the iron ore, because this overall this economics is sometimes is not viable because of the logistic cost. This is a little bit aesthetics. I think this may be having interest. The total mines of the major mineral we are having in 2021 about 1300, excluding atomic, fuel and minor minerals. And the value of the production that is in 2021 about 120, you can say 130,000 crores. And I try to compare it with the last year, because if we see that what was the impact of the pandemic, so that is about 11%. That is in value of the mineral production has been reduced. In this 1920, it was more than 11% of this value. Similarly, this is one more parameter we try to make based on the value of the mineral production, that is called the index of the production of the and the base year that has been fixed by the Ministry of the Aesthetics. So keeping that base year, that is a 89.2 is our mineral index in the production, which is again reduced from the previous year as a 12.5%. Then comes the gross value added. Taking the base year again 11-12, about 292,000 crore is a total gross value added by the mining sector. So this also has been reduced to about 9% because of the this pandemic. Then value of this export, if I will say this, I try to divide the value of export in ore and minerals and metal and alloys. So this value, and if we see the figures of the import value, so if I add these two and these and try to make a ratio, so that is about, if we are importing about 2.76%, we are exporting 1. So that is a ratio of 1:3 is there. So that is has to be, this ratio has to be reduced if we want to make that import and export should have in a similar platform. Otherwise, we are import dependent country, and this import we are investing our forensic reserve also, and as well as sometimes we are depending on, like if we are taking the metallic grade, you can say that's fuel grade coal. So we are depending on China. If they are not giving us the supply, sometimes we are facing a hardship to run our industries. Like that, there the n number of the list is there, which we are still depending on import. So we are not only depending upon the mineral, but sometimes we are investing our valuable revenue also. Again, this try to say the same, this mineral index. So earlier we were having a little bit of the growing, but because of this local condition or the pandemic only, it has been gone about the 89 or 90%. So this index of the mineral production represent the status of the production for a given period of time as compared to the reference year. So this reference year was the 2010-11. Same, this is a above graph is showing our import, and this is showing the our export. So this is also sometime it is a ratio of the 1:3. Then it has gone in 89 or 1:, even 5 or 6 also. So this is also sometimes a big challenge, because this trend of the export and import shows that the value of the import is significantly high compared to the export. This is also give our eye opening for us, because when the 100% FDI is allowed in the mining sector, But if this we see this middle column, this is in this dollar millions dollar investment in the mining sector. Little bit we were good in the 158 in the 89, and this column I have shown the total FDI investment of all sectors. So this is a percentage is very meager, less than 1% is coming in the mining sector, the investment. Otherwise also this is a figure is also not very encouraging, or you can say the appreciable. So this is the also area we have to look into to get the better FDI or the more serious FDI in the mining sector. This picture I wanted to show what are the in Indian perspective, which are the state in terms of the value giving a share more. So Odisha is giving maximum share of the 41%. This is only of the major mineral, because sometimes the data of the minor mineral is difficult for us to get it. So this is Odisha is leading, then come to the Rajasthan, and subsequently the Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, and then rest are the other states. So when we go for any reform, we have to have a look into it. What are the resources available in the leading mineral producing state, and what are the issues are there of that state. If we go the mineral wise also, as I told when I was discussing about the GDP. So here this is a back end support data that iron ore is a total value of the mineral is about 62%. Then comes the limestone, and subsequently lead and zinc. Then 5% is a chromite, and the rest of the mineral like silver, manganese, bauxite, copper concentrate, and others. This is also an important slide, because when we say that we are having abundant, adequate, deficit, or scarce, this is an old classification. So I try to make it a list of the mineral available with both the sub classification of metallic means ferrous, metallic non-ferrous, industrial, and precious stone or the metal. So here this comes the iron ore. We are having sufficient huge resources, available resources, bauxite, metallurgical grade available, coal, then dolomite, gypsum, mica. But if you go that chromite of the metallic grade is a adequate supply is available, but still we are importing also. Then zinc, graphite. But these are the two last columns are really would be seriously thought upon. That chromite refractory grade, bauxite chemical grade, copper, lead, this fertilizer minerals, kyanite, and this is the scarcity of the, we don't have a production of the nickel, as a byproduct only we are getting tungsten, cobalt, molybdenum, antimony, gold, PGE, sulfur, potash, metal coal, diamond, because whatever the mine we were having, a very meager amount has been produced by the MP government Patta land, and NMDC I came to know that this mine is also only getting the what are the earlier stock available reporting the productions. This is a sometimes give a very rosy picture of our country also, because we are placing ourselves in terms of the reserves as well as in terms of the production also in the world ranking. So the coal total 10% of the world reserves available in the India. Before that total we are producing over 95 mineral. Generally, if you read in the paper, it comes that India is producing 95 mineral. So 4 are the fuels, 10 metallic, 23 non-metallic, 3 atomic mineral, and 55 minor minerals. We do have a detailed list of these all minerals also, or if that somebody is having the academic interest or the student point of view. And as I told, this is we are 10% of the total resources of the world in coal, and we are ranking in the 5th. For iron ore, though we are having only 3%, but we are still figuring top 10 country of the world. Then manganese ore, again, we are ranking 7th. Bauxite, India is ranking on 8th. Chromite, 3rd. Sometimes it may be a little bit changing also, because we are fetching the data from the USGS, and this is a World Mineral Production for this production, and British Geological Survey report we are getting for this reserves. So based on that only, and depending upon the our production of that particular year. And in terms of the production, we are for the coal 2nd, for iron ore 4th, manganese ore 6th, bauxite 5th, chromite, and there is zinc. So this is a way we are figuring our production and reserve in the world. This is a degree of the self-sufficiency. Actually, this also we try to calculate based on this in the bottom I have given that upstream demand production plus import minus export. So here also very good rosy picture. Bauxite we are self-sufficient, chromite like that, only kyanite 96, and manganese ore, as I told, we are importing manganese, so 51% of the self-sufficiency, keeping our demand and the production. Then rock phosphate, really alarming, we are only 15%. Then subsequently comes to the metal, copper refined, and lead. So they are the areas where the serious thought has to be given. I mean, if we want to safeguard our the forex reserve in by making the import of this mineral or the metal. Again, this life indices of the mineral also we try to calculate based on the resources availability, that is up to excluding the G3 or G4, plus making the resources abundant. So suppose we are having a resources estimation. Sir, kindly mute your mic. This is a disturbing.
मृणाल सर आपका माइक म्यूट कर दीजिए.
So as I told, that's the life indices of the mineral also we try to calculate based on the what are the our annual consumption is there. So here also little bit give a confidence level to us that for the bauxite about 100 years we should not worry. Then the chromite like that. So this is only garnet that is used for the whether it's a semi-precious stone or some abrasive, hardly for 28 years. Lead and zinc ore 34 years, and similarly some rock phosphate. So it is a could not depict it properly. It is hardly having 15 or 20 years only. So this is also give a back calculation where we stand as per the availability of the resources and our per annum consumption. This may be having an interest because when we say that a lot of exploration has been done, we are doing right from so many years, and now government of India is thinking to auction the block. So I try to make the ratio between the reserve and resources. So here only 16% of the bauxite or 17% is only reserve, rest are the resources. Resources also of the as on 1/4/2015. Chromite about 29%, copper is hardly 14%, like that. Iron ore 24%, only the reserve has been estimated. Magnetite hardly less than 1%. And this is as per the UNFC classification only. So because whatever the reserve was there of the magnetite in the Kudrmukh, they all converted into the resources when the mining has been closed. Then the manganese ore hardly 18%. So this is general statement. If I say that is less than 30% of the reserves are available, rest are the resources. So upgradation of the resources to the higher confidence level, why additional exploration is required, because as per the mineral evidence rule, if you want to auction the block, there is some parameters for this mining lease. Up to G2 level of the exploration has to be carried out. So for that you required 111, 121 or 122 as per the UNFC classification. For the PL cum ML, up to G3 level of the exploration has to be done. So for that, until unless that exploration criteria is not going to be fulfilled, or whatever the exploration is there, that need a more to be strengthened to convert it to the auctionable block. Yeah. This is a just global trend of the indicate the expenditure of the exploration. So if I say that it is less than 1%, India is investing for the exploration in comparison to the, if you see the whole world, that is a little bit old data. Latin America about 28%, Australia 17%, Africa 13%, USA 10%, Canada 15%, and we are coming in the rest of the countries of the ASEAN. So that is 8%. So in India it's come the less than 1%. And India expenditure on per square kilometer in terms of the dollar, hardly $17 per square kilometer, while the Australia is having $124 per square kilometer, and Canada is having about $118 per square kilometer expenditure on mineral exploration. This is a, as we say that this is a OGP area notified the GSI. So in this of India's entire OGP area, only 10% has been explored, and mining is only taken into 1.5 to 2% of the area only. So here also this is giving a challenge on us why we are not able to convert this our obvious geological potential area to the auctionable block. Why this is a mining area could not be able to increase. So this is also in term of the each mineral. This is a source of the GSI data. We have done a lot of in terms of the square kilometer area has been explored, but it has to be converted as a mineable blocks. Now coming to the, as you were telling, what are the changes has been made in the recent past. So before that, what is necessary to make a changes? So this slide I am dedicating on that, because earlier there was a lot of litigations was going on and a lot of time we are taking to grant the concession, whether it's a RP, whether it is a PL or ML. And so a lot of litigations, and to eliminate the delay and to solve the social problem also, because sometime when the mine was there, but the local condition of the tribals or the local condition of the person where the mineral was available, but nothing was dedicatedly, funding was not there. To address the inadequate infrastructure development facility, uniform lease period was also not there. It was 20 years, then extended for 10 years, or sometime for the different period was there. Attracting the private investment in the latest technology and dedicated fund for the exploration. So for that, this NMIT security DMA for the District Mineral Foundation for this tribal and dedicated mining areas. Auction can as a platform for transparencies. I am coming to the subsequent slide. So that's, as we know that the National Mineral Policy earlier was a 2008. Then it has been again the new national policy came in the picture, that is a 2019. So these are the few salient features of this National Mineral Policy 2019. It has been actually was constituted under the then Additional Secretary Ministry of Mines. That too on the some court judgment, but the court told that what are the existing policies there, that is only looks to be just on paper. It could not be implemented. That's why based on the judgment given by the Supreme Court, this committee is being constituted. And based on the recommendation of the committee, the government has accepted this policy. So initially they were focusing more on the prospect to be mining has to be given the status of the industry, because still the mining has not been treated as an industry. The front end, this steel and other, they are treated as an industry. The mining, by making exploration of mining, is not having an industrial status. So that has to be given. Then they have given one more figure also, that within the 7 years, they increase the production by 200%. So that 2019 came. So by 2026, the production has to be increased by 200%. That is also one statistic has been given. Increasing this is purely of the mining, that the trees has to be, or it has to be sold subsequently. Then one more, that is the exclusive mining zone has to be identified by having all pre-awarded clearances, because what is happening in the present auction scenario, sometimes the clearance has to be taken by the successor. So which is taking time, whether it is environmental clearance, whether it is a forest clearance. So this whatever the block which is going to come for the auction, it should have a pre-embedded clearance. Long-term import-export policy, as I told, that is the issue between the export and import. So that should have a dedicated policy on it. What are the mineral we are going to import and what are the substitute can be made in the country. Then auction in the virgin area, both because presently the auction policy being NERP, PL cum ML or ML. But this NMP recommended that the RP cum PL ML can be also in the virgin area can be thought. Rationalization of the area reserved for the POC, because a lot of the area has been reserved by the public sector, just like a SAIL or NMD or other organization. So again, retrospective analysis has to be made whether the area really they are utilizing or not. Encouraging the dedicated corridor to facilitate the transportation of the mineral, like the coastal waterway or inland shipping also can be there, because as I told, 30 to 40% of the our logistic cost comes on the transport, or sometimes it is creating the pollution also if we are making the road transport. Utilization of the District Mineral Foundation on equitable development of the project affected person. Few more are there. Encouraging the private sector to take up the exploration. So I think a little bit that has been came into force also. This was earlier dedicated for the government agencies or the public sectors. So for to regulate the mineral is concerned, e-governance, IT-enabled system, awareness of the information campaign have been incorporated. As IBM has already started to making the mining surveillance system and star rating of the mining also. So there we are taking most of the help of the softwares also. And recently we are having a proposal to make a drone survey. Instead of having a physical form of the inspection of the mine, it will be a virtual form and it will having a more transparency also. Effective mining surveillance system to curb the illegal mining. As I told, the mining surveillance system has been developed and it is applicable for both major mineral as well as for the minor mineral also. Even we as a citizen also can upload the illegal mining picture and this mobile app is available. Formulation of the geological and mineral database repository. As we know, sometimes it is not at a one umbrella. It is segregated with the different agencies, state having their own, IBM is having their own. Sometimes there is a, now the database has been maintained by the some dedicated ministry of the government of India also. So it should be having under the one umbrella. Then one more important terminology has been given by this policy is intergeneration equity. This is the first time has been used in the policy. So that deal with the well-being, not only with the present generation, but also with the generation to come, which we were telling sometime with the sustainable development. Here there is dedicatedly one para has been given on the intergeneration equity. Then address the issue of the project affected person, as I told, with the District Mineral Foundation, and target and tie the current government Make in India initiation also to boost the economic growth of the country. Then, as I told, this is in a nutshell, major thrust has been given to ensure supply of the raw material, whether it is a sustainable development of the sector, whether the welfare of the local people, subsequent after the mining, closure of the mining, long-term import policy. If some physical incentive is required to be given, this physical aspect, like as I told, I was a member of the committee, whether export duty has to be reduced, whether some incentive has to be given for enhancing the export for the pellets and sinter, there is a zero export duty. Intergeneration equity, then mineral conservation, development, resource development, infrastructure development, protection of the environment, including the sustainable development. So these are the, in nutshell, the thrust area of the national mineral policy. Then comes to the dedicatedly what are the reform has been taken place. So this is a left side. This is a earlier we were having the Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957. Under that, mineral concession rule was there, mineral conservation and development rule, and each state were having their own minor mineral concession rule. And then one mining lease deed modification rule was there. And here this offshore area mineral development and regulation act and offshore area mineral development and conservation of the rule 2006. So under that, this was the before reform, this was a picture, and after the reform in 2015, which is still continuing. Recently my friend has shared that on 18th June also one gazette notification has came. So here this is a n number of the in place of this 2, they made the dedicatedly mineral evidence rule, which is facilitating the auction of the mineral block. Then subsequently the auction rules also there. Then NERP rule. Then mineral exploration trust, dedicated trust has been created, which is taking care of the NMIT fund and subsequently allotting that fund for the exploration project, which is coming from the state government, which is coming from the public sector, which is coming from the central government department like GSI. Then there was a mines and minerals, which was earlier was a MCR. Now his name has been given. This is a mines and mineral contribution. Sorry, mines. This is a mines and minerals. This is a DMF rule. Then comes the mining rule for the government companies. Here, this is a MCR has been given the name of minerals other than atomic and hydrocarbon mineral, MCR 2016. Then the mining lease transfer dedicated rule. And for the atomic mineral, first time this is an independent rule has came, which was not there. Previously, this atomic mineral was governed under the Schedule 1 of the MMDR Act. Still, it is a part of the Schedule 1 of the MMDR Act, but the rules has been separately framed, which has to be governed by the DEA, Department of the Atomic Energy, or subsequent their department under them. So that's as I told, this MMDR Act 2015 has came, and the N number of the rule. So major thrust under this MMDR has came. Auctioning has been a mode for the now grant of the concession. No concession other than auction mode can be given. Even they have taken care before 15 also what is the status. So all this non-captive lease was given up to 2020, and captive lease was given a life up to 2030. And after the 2015, who are getting the preferential bidder or getting the block in the auction, they are having the life up to the 50 years. Then the PL-ML or PL-ML or the NERP, they are the name of the concession which has been introduced under this act. Then the security of the tenure also, as I told, up to 50 years the concession will be granted, like a mining lease. Stringent provision for the illegal mining also. Earlier penal provision was there maximum 50,000 rupees, but now it has raised up to the 5 lakh rupees, and there is a imprisonment also, provision of the imprisonment is also there. Then this is a district mineral foundation dedicatedly for the person who is residing in the area where the mineral has been found. Mineral exploration. And these reform in nutshell again: auction, composite license, district mineral foundation, NMIT, tenure security. This is a mining surveillance system to curb the illegal mining. Then lease can be transferred, 100% FDI. Here just I have shared this slide because here the sustainable development and star rating of the mine. So this also first time in India we have started. So whoever the mining is going on in country, they have to fill up the self-assessment. And as we purchase the air conditioner or the fridge, we see that what is the star. So more of the star, better may be the quality. So similarly, mining also, the 3 star is a compulsory. If the any mine less than 3 star, he may be given opportunity for the 2 year. Subsequently, even the closure of the mine can be recommended. So there are the N number of the virtual platform where the assessment has to be made and star rating of the mining has to be evaluated. And subsequently, the award or reward also has to be given by our Minister of the Mines in annual functions. So who are doing this 5 star, they have been rewarded also for their doing the good work. So in a nutshell, last 2 or 3 slides is only left out, sir. So that is a opportunity for the growth is there. As we say, the N number of the reform has been taken place. Then there is an area of opportunity by increasing the demand of the coal, iron ore, bauxite, limestone, due to the growth in the industry like infrastructure, automotive, power and cement. India's strategic location for the export to develop the country. So this also has to be looked into. Amongst the top 5 producers, as I told, in the coal, iron ore, bauxite, zinc, with barely 20% of the reserve or the 30% of the reserves are there. So that has to be converted to the resources. And this is a 6-point scope for the deep-seated mineral discovery. That is very important because, as I told, for the majority of the exploration or subsequent exploitation, we are doing on the superficial level only. So for that, maybe the challenge of how to do the mining in the deep, but all deep-seated mineral discovery is given a thrust. This is you can say a success story because as on date about 105 block has been auctioned as on December 2020. So if I see the mineral wise, about 37 block of the iron ore has been auctioned, about 30 block of the limestone, 6 of the iron and manganese combined, 7 of the bauxite, 5 of the graphite, 6 for the gold also, copper and diamond. And if we go in the just bottom, this is a total revenue. We can say in the 50-year government is going to get. This is an additional revenue. This is coming to about 828,000 crores. So this is an additional revenue because of the reform. Earlier, the mine owner was giving only the royalty, but now they are giving the royalty, DMF, NMIT, upfront payment, performance security. So this all together. So this each row I have given a breakup by also, but because of the paucity of the time, I will just switch over to the next slide. So this is a way I want to underline that lot of revenue, and this is going to be a recurring revenue enhancement also, because what are the premium mine owner is going to pay? As if I say that the JSW has purchased the mine in Odisha, so he has given a premium of the 150%. So each production quantity which is coming from the lease area, he has to pay royalty plus the 150% more of the average sale value published by the IBM. So that way, that is a recurring revenue collection for the state government, which were not there in earlier. Similarly with the NMET also and DMF also, because now a lot of huge amount is available with the DMF and NMET. This is coming about 134 or 135,000 crores, which was earlier negligible. We were just thinking on the state authority to develop the tribal areas, get the fund from the promotional fund from the government of India, but now the huge fund is available. Now these are the, as I told, some physical incentive as also government is thinking, go on doing time to time, because we want to enhance our export. So in this budget, that export duty on the iron ore presently up to 58% is zero, and including the pellet centers, and above that is a duty, because that high grade material is required for our own steel plants. For the bauxite also, that export duty has been reduced, and that is the export duty for the chromite also. Then, as I told, that the pellet, the duty has been reduced to zero, and there is some special privilege has been given if the export carried out by the NMDC. And then there is a rate of the distance. If I say the railway also, they also made a flat rate of the 300 rupees per kilometer for transportation of the, you can say by rail, the iron ore. So this is some physical incentive has been thought of by the government of India. As this is a buzzword that Atmanirbhar Bharat. So in the mining sector also, the government has announced, that's our financial minister, that introduction of a seamless composite exploration cum mining cum production regime. About 500 block has to be auctioned with the open transparent platform, joint auction of the bauxite and the coal mineral block, the removal of the distinction between the captive and non-captive. Here I will try to explain, because the captive mine is supposed to make his own consumption. They are not allowed to sell their product in the open market. But by this Atmanirbhar Bharat reform, even the captive mining, subject to satisfying their need of their plant, they may be allowed to sell the product. So sometimes whatever the scarcity is there in the market, that can be minimized or that can be mitigated. This is also very buzzword nowadays in the industry. Mineral index. This is in short, it is coming the national mineral index. For the coal, already the mineral index has been notified. On the similar line, Government of India, Ministry of Mines is thinking to make a national mineral index. Committee has also been constituted. Sri Srivastava sir, I think ex-secretary Ministry of Coal, he is the chairman of that committee. So they are also seriously thinking, okay, why this all the duties like a royalty, DMF, NMET, upfront payment based on the IBM price. It should have an open platform where that they can have a other attributes like the import value, export value, or sometimes the value of the public sector. So that is a big challenge, and it has been, I think, in the public domain also. The suggestion were asked by the all likely-minded people. So this is going on. I too got an opportunity to interact with this committee. Then rationalization of the stamp duty, and these structural reform are aimed to boost the growth of the, as we say that the employment is very important. There is a major thrust has been given on the employment and socio-economic development. So this employment and bring the state-of-art technology in mining sector in general, in exploration in particular. And these are the few suggestions. Again, I will try to cover speedily. As I put up my objective to increase the GDP, increase the export, and reduce the import. So for that, the priority should be given on the mineral, which is have a significant contribution for the mineral value. Then waterway has to be developed as a transport. Feasibility of the underground mining has to be explored, because we know it now, whether it is a Malanskand already started, we are going for the chromite underground mine. For the other mine also we have to thought of. Even we are having tomorrow something for the iron ore also, because the surfacial deposit is now going to be adjusted. Efforts needed to be convert the resources into the reserve. To meet our economic and development goal, India needs to first focus on the domestic exploration of the critical and strategic mineral also. Effective recycling of the scrap also, where you can safeguard our energy, and use of the satellite technology for identification of the monitoring of the mining, including the illegal mining, socio-economic development of the affected person, securing the need of the countries on the mineral demand through the strategic acquisition of the overseas mines. This is also very important, because we cannot depend upon the domestic availability of the resources. Few companies already started. So this is to be started at the national level, wherever the resources of the mines are available, that has to be acquired. Increase that technology to uptake the effective exploration, viable processing, because until we will not make a value addition, we cannot think of the supply of the raw material for making the value addition. Whether it is a low grade, whether it is a material which is having the hidden strategic mineral. Just like somebody say that is your red mud is having the RE, or what are the dumps available of the chromite, they are having a lot of other metal other than the nickel. So that has also to be thought of. Gold is having the light and other associated silver. Establishment of the complete value chain for the entire mining sector and downstream linkage for the use of the mineral as a raw material, because if it is not to make a chain, sometimes this production is different and requirement of the raw material for the industry may be different. So that has to be make a nitty-gritty of the raw material with the value addition. So this is I think last slide. I am going to conclude that the minerals could play an important role in the success of the sustainable development of the Indian economy. Mining sector has a great potential for the industrial growth. The reform is premised on a broad understanding of the value beyond the mineral revenue, because our criteria is not only the revenue, including the social reform, management of the mining through the transparent digital technology driven process. Indian mining reform called for the strong economic and social linkage between the extractive sector and other sector of the local economy. Auction make a very transparent mechanism with the high revenue collection. A complete turnaround of the mining sector is underway, and the wheels for the achievement for the higher growth have been set rolling. There is a one notification or other is coming. Though there is a issue of the industries is also still there, but I think the way we are progressing, I am looking to be a bright future of the mining industry in India. And there's a little bit of limitations are there. As I told, that is acquiring the different type of the land acquisition rights. Then there is a forest or environmental clearances. So that too, if that embedded clearance government thought of, that limitations also can be mitigated. So this is a end. The end is not an end. It is a means. Efforts never dies. So by bottom of the heart, I put thanks to all of you, and kindly excuse me a little bit of the figure or any my deliberation of the talk. If anything I may gone wrong, so I think you may pardon me. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
So thank you, Dr. Jain. I think we have some time for interaction, some one or two questions, if there are any, we can permit. So please.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
My name is Akshay Shingade. I am from PG Department of Geology, Nagpur University. Sir, my question is that in 2020, the government ordered one draft, that is environmental impact assessment, which said that mining project can avoid public hearing, and there is a MMDR 2021. So will over exploitations of minerals cannot affect our environment, and our forest?
So I may try to answer. Actually, it's a very general question, and as we know that dedicatedly there is a committees, then Ministry of Environment and Forest, and n number of the guideline and notification has already been issued. So they will take care. There should not be over exploitation, and there should be a sustainable development that has to be taken care. It cannot be in development of the mining cannot be in isolation. So all the guideline of the government of India, which is go on daily modifying, reforming, they may be taken care. And what are the public hearing and what are the role of the stakeholder in that development? That too will be always will be an open platform.
Saralka Saab, good evening. I am Krishnamurthy
Yes.
from Bangalore here.
Okay. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I have a small query from Dr. Jain.
Okay.
See, regarding, he mentioned that we should increase our export and reduce the import. In case of iron ore, Karnataka has got a blanket, ban on producing more than 25 million tons. Though Karnataka has got huge resources of iron ore. and particularly Kudremukh, where magnetite BMQ is available. 72% of countries' magnetite deposit is locked up in Western Ghats. That is in Kudremukh. What is the government policy? For example, he nicely suggested that we should think of underground mining. If that is so, why not we explore and exploit magnetite iron ore from Kudremukh area? Thank you.
Sir, it is a very rightly you have pointed out, as I also shown in my slide, that the total reserve of the magnetite is less than 1%. And reason being because the Kudremukh mine has been closed because of the environmental issues. So as you told that the limitation has been made to make it a maximum export 25. Actually, this is a court directives based on the inquiry has been made, and now there is a restriction has been made. And one more thing you may be knowing that whatever the production of the Karnataka, that everything has go through the mine owner cannot make own sale. So there's a very specific regional specific problem. I think in the days to come that has to be solved out. But what about the magnetite? I think for the magnetite we have to all have to thought of, because the mining of the surface mining cannot be done, and if we want to go for the underground mining or steel plant based on the magnetite, that is really a challenge. And I don't know, for that dedicated feasibility study has to be made, and that is a separate agenda of the government of India has to be thought of.
Thank you, sir.
Sorolkar
Dr.
sir,
Jain, I should congratulate you.
Small...
Myself,
Hello.
I am Bake,
Sir.
Dr. Bake. Hello, Prafulla.
Sorolkar sir, can I raise a comment over here? Hello, I'm Badawan. Hello, Sorolkar sir. Hello. Am I audible?
सर आप सुनाई दे रहा है आपका एक सुरेश जी बोल रहे हैं, उसके बाद आप कृपया बोलें.
ओके ठीक है.
सुरेश जी आप बोलिए फिर.
I am Dr. Bake this side, Suresh Bake. I should congratulate Dr. Jain that you have given a very comprehensive picture about the development of the mineral industry and what are the efforts the government has done. I am having a small question that all this time we were thinking that FDI will come in mining industry, and we have made all these reforms and all those things commensurate with the world requirement. But why the FDI is not coming in mining sector? What is the problem still the world is facing in investing in India in mining sector?
Okay, sir. Bake sir, first I just salute you because you are there in the. He happened to be my boss also in IBM, Chief Mineral Economist, then. And as you rightly pointed out, sir, why we could not able to do this FDI, na? If we see the pre-reform, we can have that Rio Tinto were there, then POSCO was there. So unfortunately, they couldn't able to see the light of the day of their vision. And now our reform in the transit phase. Still, sometimes that's the government of India is in the pipeline to make a strategic dedicated policy. So if they are coming for the bidding, I think there is no restrictions. The foreigners also come and take the part in the bidding. Only they should open a company in India. And as I told, that's embedded clearance. This can see a light of the day. The investment will be more easy in the country. So little bit is a futile state because it is a transition is going on. But the future is very, I see very rosy future can be there in the. This is just, you can see the figure also, there is a little bit increasing the figure of the investment.
Okay, then Atmanirbhar Bharat is a better option, it seems, rather than looking for the FDI.
But sir,
जैन साहब आपका माइक म्यूट हो गया.
Sorry, if we want to go, sir, though Atmanirbhar Bharat is promoting, but still there is a limitations of the government. You can say India, like new technology is coming for the beneficiation. We want to extract the RE from the red mud. We want to go for the underground mining, like if somebody for the magnetite. So for that, if we are having an open door policy to invite the world best available technology, I think there is no hitch, and we should always have a welcome in terms of the FDI.
Okay, thank you.
Doctor, thank you, Jain Saab. It was excellent presentation, loaded with a lot of data. my compliments to you. My small query is, this difficulty we have been experiencing even in GSI, even during our CGPB meetings. Our level of synergy amongst the three departments, the three major arms of the ministry, that also needs to be looked into. GSI, IBM, and of course MECL is just dependent on the NMAT and all that. But PSUs, unless we have a regular exchange of data on demand and supply, that kind of analysis you are doing to the best of the available technology and knowledge. Unless we know the real position where the demand is lacking and what are the priority areas where the exploration needs to be focused, that comes to the kind of synergy and regular meetings that we should have been holding. In fact, during Khwaja Sahib's time, I remember we had started doing it. But then I'm not very happy with the way the things are progressing. I don't know, what is your opinion on this?
Sir, you rightly say, sir. Actually, it was started, that is a synergy between the GSI and IBM. I too have attended 2-3 meetings. But as you know that sometimes the head of the organization is frequently changing. And but sir, back end is there. Still, whatever the national mineral inventory we are preparing, 90% data we are getting from GSI. And, what are the parliament questions if come? We are having a hearing. If I say 32 billion, it will come from GSI also 32 billion. From IBM also it's come 32 billion. So otherwise we are with a keen interest participating in the CGPB meeting also. So I feel that that's only it is left out with the on higher level. So definitely people will look into it, and it is a policy matter. It is a right suggestion. So I too recommend that it should be done.
Thank you. And you made a very nice point on acquisition of such resources abroad. Wherever we are lacking, we should try to acquire. Is there any progress on this front?
Sir, actually, officially, I don't know much because we go on giving an input on number of MOU has been signed, where the member from GSI and this NMDC and all public sector is going as a high delegation. But whatever the acquisition is there, that has to be done by an individual. I think government may not be having any right on that. That individual has to acquire.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jan sir. Great. Great to see you.
Srikarni sab, can you mute your mic, please?
So,
Jan sab, thank you so much. Really, I have always loved your presentation because it is always jam-packed with so much of data. Really, it makes a person think a lot. I'll suggest one thing. There are many questions, but I'll discuss it with you personally. I'll suggest that you should. I'll rather also suggest Geological Society of India also to host your lecture. It will be very informative because last time I had attended one of their lectures and there were a lot of questions about the royalties and all those things that government is charging from the mineral sector, and finally it is getting a lot of burden on that particular company. So they are it is difficult for them to maintain their profits. So I hope you will be ready to share your knowledge at that platform also.
Sure, sir. And as you told me, sir, actually misnomer. The royalty paid by the industry, actually, we are the owner of the mineral as an intergeneration. All citizens are the owner of the mineral. So if we are giving a concession to the particular individual company, they have to pay in terms of the whatever they are extracting. So if they are paying only total value for 15% maximum in the iron ore, it is they are not making any favor, or they are not burdened because a huge profit has been earned by them. If I give you an example, earlier the royalty for the iron ore was only 27 rupees per ton. Now they are paying 15%. So can you imagine how much that's a huge profit they have earned it during the time of the Olympic of the China. So if the royalty has been paid and if they make a cry that the royalty is a burden, I think it's a misnomer. And royalties, for the information of all, it is not a tax. It is only in terms of the acquisition of the land and acquisition of the mineral, they are paying against that. So I think that is in the right direction we are going. It is not a additional burden on the mine owner.
Thank you, sir.
So I think shall we conclude, or anyone is there?
Sir, I should thank Dr. Sarolkar for for initiating this thing, and it is really very at least we can get together and meet, and there should be some informal discussions post the lecture also, if time permits later. And I should thank you so much, and the society itself for hosting such lectures.
Okay.
And Saravanan sir, after it also, if anybody is having any interest, that my email is there, and I am always welcome. What are the
One question is, Dr. Jain, that you have a very much lot of informative material here, but now we couldn't record it as far as I could see it from the present data. So if you can give some 2 or 3 pages of write-up, we can publish it in our JGSR volume.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I will do so.
That will be much useful.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, this is Indrajit Patra from AMD, Visakhapatnam. Am I audible to all of
Yes,
you,
yes.
sir?
Yes.
Sir, this is a very good talk you have given. And then the last slide I am referring that to have to increase the GDP, the different points you have also explained nicely. Okay, so one point I want to just have the information, the use of satellite technology you have told. So this is just to reduce the illegal mining or any other purpose?
It has number of uses, you know. Satellite technology has multifarious uses. It can be used for any purpose. It can be used for surveillance also. It can be used for increasing the database, as well as for we can say knowing the new resources, or even nowadays hidden resources also.
No, that we know, but for this specific purpose, I think it is due to reduce the illegal mining. Okay, na?
Sir, I will. Actually, in IBM, we are using, first started with the illegal mining, because we try to make a satellite image and what are the mining plan image. And wherever there's any illegal activity outside the lease boundary is going on, immediately it will be captured. And then recently we are thinking of the drone, though it is not a satellite, but the drone survey is a virtual survey, which will having a better way of the resolution, and that is going to be part of the MCDR also. So instead of a physical form of the mining plan, they will submit the drone survey, and subsequently we'll do the virtual survey for that.
Okay, that is a very good thing, sir. Okay, sir.
Then, sir, a small query to as an addendum to that: is it really possible to stop illegal mining?
Sir, actually, it is little bit when there is a big ocean. Illegal mining definition, if you go, even anything beyond the lease boundary, that is illegal. If anything more than the grant of the their limit of the as per the mining plan, that is illegal. So there is a very broad, and ultimately the domain is state government, because central government don't have so much of the neither the manpower, neither the technology. So state has to come forward, and they have to be proactive on that to stop the illegal mining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I think we have come to completion of this lecture today, and I hope that Madam Humne is available now.
Yes, sir, I'm always available.
Yeah, sir. So I request you to propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure to propose vote of thanks, but just a query.
Yes.
Actually, that since the time of inception of WhatsApp, there are many fake news always circulating on WhatsApp. And one such news I read about that is that we have found some diamond, a very rich source of diamond in Chhatarpur. Is it true? Or if we have explored the resource of diamond in Chhatarpur, so what was the amount, if it is true?
Madam, actually that is a Bandar block is there. That Bandar block, I think it is already auctioned also. So let us see, it is a PL cum ML has been given. So though the diamond is also there, and there is a block has already been auctioned. If you are telling the Bandar block is the Chhatarpur district.
Okay, sir. That means the news is correct one.
Yeah, it's correct, ma'am. Correct.
Okay, sir. So on behalf of Gondwana Geological Society, I would like to thank Dr. Pradeep Jain sir for giving such a such a talk which is full of information about the mining of strategic minerals as well as the important minerals in which India is leading. And on behalf of students of Department of Geology, also I would like to thank, because many things which you have told in your talk is often being taught to them, but their concepts are not that much clear as what is actually going on from the IBM side and what is included in IBM. Means what are the functions of IBM and what they actually do. So by your talk, it is very much clear to them as what you have told. And from all of us, all the participants and all the attendees who have attended your talk, and from the Gondwana Geological Society, from the Department of Geology, I would like to thank Dr. Jain profusely for such an informative talk. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So I also, on behalf of Gondwana Geological Society, thank you everybody. And we had a record attendance today. Almost 90 scientists were very eagerly listening to this lecture. So thank you all. And if there is in the next lecture in the series, will be informed to all. It will take at least 1 month to arrange such another lecture. So thank you all. And I hope that we'll be having such interaction quite regularly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jain sir, lots of thanks. Jain sir, it was a very enlightening lecture.
Thank you very much,
Thanks a
sir.
lot.
Thanks in advance for the wide media publicity, sir, by you.
Yes, sir. This will be published. It will come in the papers.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Right of the
Thank you,
mail.
sir.
Close the
Thank you,
meeting
sir.
now.
Jain sir, can you share your telephone number and mail ID, please?
Actually, I am in group, WhatsApp group. My mail ID PKJN 3661. I will just put up in your chat.
Your telephone number, please.
940-590-4410.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So
Okay,
we
sir.
close this meeting today.
Okay, thank you, sir.